So yet another difference from C10s to K10s is the forward leaf spring hanger is much bigger on a K10. See how much further it hangs down? So you have to swap out this little guy right here with this forward one, and it'll effectively lift the back of the truck. I'm thinking something like 2.5 inches it looks like, because that's how much taller approximately the K10s are compared to C10s. So anyway, the other difference is on 67s and 8s, I believe these springs are narrower. So I might need to, I might need to put some bushings in there, some washers to, this is also bent. Interesting. I might need to put a couple washers in there, which is also fine because I'm probably going to change these springs over to 71 or 69 in earlier style or in later style springs. The back hangers are the same, so it makes perfect sense for me just to do this now and then come back later and change those springs. So now I'm getting ready to drill out these rivets and pop this thing off. The other unfortunate thing is C10 frames have this bump right here on each side of the spring hanger. I think it's basically a flute to add rigidity to the frame right there. Since this is a little bit taller and a little bit wider, I'm afraid that it might kind of, line up in those. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I might have to, I hate to say it, make them disappear, or I don't know. I'm gonna get this off and we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I'm really not looking forward to the answer on that because I have a really, really bad feeling about it, that it's gonna be in the way. So this is also kind of funny because this is something that people apparently do all the time. Convert these. God, I can't get that thing in the center for the life of me. Convert these trucks over, and I just don't think anybody's doing this. The other thing is, I'll say this now, but man, it's just swap your frame, dude. If you wanna have a 4-wheel drive truck, this has been a lot more hassle, and I really think it's worth to swap this thing. All right, serious leaf spring hanger problems. So unfortunately, I just figured something out after I cut the leaf spring hangers off. So this is your normal 4-wheel drive spring eye hanger, and it is just straight. It doesn't have any cant to it at all. And then if you put the other 2-wheel drive spring hanger next to it, the whole thing is tweaked. I know why, of course I figured it out now. This is to make up for the fact that on 2-wheel drive frames, they start to dip out right here. So they start to actually come out at an angle, and then they have this bow in the frame, which is where the coil springs would go. So I'm in quite a bit of a predicament right now. I've already drilled the holes, already had them all bolted in, everything was pretty kosher. So yeah, I'm screwed. I need to figure this out. I don't know at what point the frame starts to actually bend, but I might be able to go from a 52-inch spring to a 50, whatever the other one is, the other length that's common, I think 56. That might get me down past the bend, but then I'll have this weird recesses that everybody will see. It's kind kind of dumb. I don't really want that. And I really don't want to change these springs because I'm lazy. I do have a set of the longer springs, but they're lift springs, and I'm trying to just do this on the real cheap. So my other thought is to just bushing the front of that out with a just a plate, just like a 1/4 inch plate, and see if that does it. The problem is it is about a 1/2 inch canted. So when I measured this all out, I don't think a 1/4 inch is enough. So I have one sitting right here that's a 1/4 inch off. It might work. I think I might put it together and see what that looks like. So what I'll probably do is just make a spacer right here and then see if everything lines up. Also, the other difference, if we're talking about differences, is the width of the spring hanger. Okay, the old ones are about 3/4 of an inch narrower, which is not a big deal. I'm just gonna cut some washers on the CNC so I can space the springs in here. The reason why this is a good thing is it will give me a little bit of bushing room one way or the other, so that I can make sure that my axle's in straight and all that. Once again, I'm also trying to make this thing look like it is an original truck. So that's for any of you that are watching and that are like, wow, why is he going to detail when he could just, you know, fab up some new, you know, billet spring hangers or whatever. That's why. So anyway, yeah, that's today's update. I'm been kind of having a hard time. Also, I went ahead and decided to get a new master cylinder and put the proper proportioning valve on, and then Inline Tube is sending me another kit, so to fix what I botched before. So that's kind of the theme of this build. Go too fast, screw up, and then backpedal until you get it right. So, all right. I'm about to either ruin all this stuff or make it nice. So there's the difference, if you can see it. How about that? This is canted 10 degrees, and then it's also going that way a little bit. So, oh man, people are gonna say I'm gonna die. I'm gonna cut this right here, and then I'm gonna bend it to match that angle, and then I'm gonna do, hopefully, a really nice job re-welding it. Yeah, that's the best plan I have right now. My fallback plan is to just put these back on it and get some lift springs. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so I went ahead and sliced this and spread it, and now I'm gonna go try and fit it on the truck to see if I got the right angle. I matched it to the other one, so I'm relatively sure I got it, but I'll have to do like a perfect weld on this. All right, so I made my modification, and you can see I just split the side of this bracket and pried it out. It ended up being just right, I think. The bolt went right through. I have the same spacing on each side, so this is going to take 1/4 inch washer, and then this is going to take 2/4 inch washers on this side. It's the same on the other side, so I think I got this just right. I kind of got lucky. So it's all bolted in right now. I'm gonna plasma cut up the washers on the CNC, dry fit it one more time, and then I'll pull everything out. I'll pull everything out and full weld it and grind it and then put it back. So I have the rear leaf spring hangers on permanently, and this is what it looks like for ride high. I'm not sure. I think this is okay. It still looks like it's a little higher in the front, but I still got to put like the front clip and the rest of the truck together. It might help a little. I just got up here and jumped on this thing, and I was able to jump hard enough to make it bottom out. So there's no shocks on it. It's definitely still leaning back a little bit, but there's no front clip. Definitely taller though. About 2 inches taller. Something's up right here. It'll be about like, just hold it, just for, right? That's good. And then West Coast mirrors.
On the side ones?
I need some West Coast, dude. All right, so I wanted to go over another difference that 6768s have, which is the forward body mount or core support mount has a different size hole. So they use the smaller style, bushings. So I'm wanting to use the ones that I have because I have them. And in order to do that, I had to grind off this little collar since that was too big for that hole. Other than that, it should just fit right on there, no problem. And I can use this newer style, far superior bushing. And I already checked that it gives me the right body lines and all that. So that's just another funny little difference is this is the whole setup right here. This is what it looks like on the truck. You have, this goes in between the mount here like that, and then this guy goes on the other side. So this is how sandwiched it is. And of course these are all rotten and no good, and there's no give in these at all. So with this, these are polyurethane, should be a little bit better. Anyway, we'll see. So every one of these springs is out of a 67 through 72 Chevy pickup, and every one of them is different. So something that might be a confusion is people think, oh, like, I have the 67 pickup, it's going to take the same springs. as a 72 or 70 or whatever, and I can tell you there's a lot of differences. So right here, this is a front springs. These are aftermarket. These are probably something like a 2 or 3 inch lift spring. And they're actually, these are quality. I'll keep these around and use them for a build someday. This next spring over here, these are rear springs, and these are out of like a 72. This next set here, these are aftermarket springs as well, but they were out of the 68 frame that I have over there. There was an original 4-wheel drive frame that I used the parts off of to convert this truck to 4-wheel drive. The funny thing about these is, so far all the springs I've run into in the back of 67 through 72 Chevy pickup trucks are 52 inch springs, and these are the 56 inch springs that are less common, I guess. These are just some aftermarket junk, but anyway, I think that's what they came with, was 56s on those, and I'll show you. Then we have another set of 69, 72 style rear leaf springs, and then we have a set of 67 two-wheel drive rear leaf springs. The reason I know they're 67s is because they're slightly narrower. So it's a little bit of spring information. Oh, and then these right here are out of a 71, and they've been re-arched. So those are about a 4-inch lift spring as well. Anyway, there's just a few differences between lift springs or leaf springs that you think are all the same. Okay, so I'm going to make a final installment video on this little 67 that I converted to 4-wheel drive. And I've been driving it periodically now for about a week. Dustin slammed my seatbelts in the door. Been driving it periodically for about a week, and it's running great, driving great, going down the road straight. No real problems, but I did want to go over and talk about all the differences between a factory 4-wheel drive and a converted 4-wheel drive. So I'm going to work on that. So other than this being upside down, this is a factory 68 Chevy K10 pickup frame. And we can go over some of the differences. Now, I've cut off all of the bracketry, which I welded on that truck over there. Not welded, which I bolted on that truck. Meaning the spring hangers and everything I needed to convert that to 4-wheel drive. The forward leaf spring hangers are way different. So the first thing I want to talk about on this truck is it being a 68. This is the, like, once again, it's upside down, but this is the driver's side. It's completely flat right here in the front frame horn. Normally what you'd see around here is a dimple out and then another dimple in, so that you can put a power steering pump on it, or a power steering box, that is. And this doesn't have that. So 67s and 68s, this is a difference on their frames. They are completely flat here. Now, here's the weird part. This is my original 67 GMC, originally a V6, C10 two-wheel drive. It is not supposed to have a dimpled frame, but it had one. And it also had power steering, but it had that hydro assist stuff. So that was weird. It just sort of bolted right on. If you watch the video, you know that it had the dimples out, but not the dimples in. So I just heated the frame up and tightened the bolts down. It kind of aligned itself. So there's the first thing, starting from the frame going back. That's a difference between two-wheel drives and 4-wheel drives. The other difference is right here on 4-wheel drives versus 2-wheel drives. If you've watched the video, you know there is this big dimple. You see this? This is another frame I have. Okay, that I had to fill that all in and straighten it. Okay, so here's the big difference. From there back on a normal four-wheel drive, the frame is completely straight. On a two-wheel drive, it actually kicks out right here. Now it starts to kick out just kind of around the forward bed mount here, and they kick out like that. And what that does is allows it to be wide enough in the back for the coil spring pockets to line up and get welded in or riveted into place. Another thing that I find fascinating about this truck, and I don't know if all 67s and 68s are like this, but this one had 56-inch springs on it. And I cut these spring hangers off. They had not been moved. The other thing with four-wheel drives is there's no dimple. Next to the spring hangers on two-wheel drives, there's usually this little outward dimple that I think is there to add rigidness to the frame. So if you're going to look at a two-wheel drive or if you're going to look at a four-wheel drive and tell if it's an original four-wheel drive, you might look just right there because you can't really hide that. I guess you could grind them out. I thought about doing it, but I just decided to leave them because I'm not going to lie about this truck. I'm just going to tell everybody, hey, it used to be a two-wheel drive and I converted to four-wheel drive. No harm in that. Two-wheel drives have this big cross member in the middle that we went over in other videos, and four-wheel drives don't. This looks like a, I don't know, that actually looks like a factory rivet, but I was gonna say that looks like an aftermarket kind of setup there, but I guess it's not. I didn't know they made four-wheel drives with two-piece drive shafts, so anyway, this one had one. I'll probably keep all that stuff in case I ever want to use it. This frame is not garbage. I'm gonna keep it. I'm probably gonna cut it down to just frame sides. That way I can store it easier. So I still need to paint match this tailgate, but like I said earlier, I've been driving this truck for about a week, and it's been a good little truck. Been running great. So this is its final look. Just a little stock looking K10 is all I wanted. So I just like the fact that it's the 1 year only GMC grill, and then you also don't really see those in white that often. 1 year only badges. Just a strange little truck, small back window. Originally a V6. Strange color combination with the yellow on gold. So I wanted to do a wrap-up video on the cost of converting a two-wheel drive C20 into a four-wheel drive, and go over a couple of the key details that maybe I missed throughout the video. The number one takeaway from this is, unless the truck has sentimental value to you, or you have no access to a four-wheel drive frame, I wouldn't do this. It's from a monetary standpoint, I think it's beneficial for you to buy a frame or buy a whole nother truck and donate your body to that truck to make it a four-wheel drive. If you have nothing going on and you're bored and you're a teacher during COVID and you need something to do to keep you busy for a long time, maybe. But just the price of everything, if you were going to convert it, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. So right here we have, front spring hangers, 150 bucks. Sometimes a guy will throw in the rear shackle mounts with that. Front leaf springs that, I didn't even write that down in my total, but those could be a couple $100, or if you find a used set, 100 bucks. You have rear forward spring hangers. Now this is that thing that I had to slice and twist because the frame on a two-wheel drive looks like this versus a four-wheel drive. And the spring hanger goes like right here. So on a four-wheel drive frame, it's just just straight. So when you get these rear forward spring hangers from a four-wheel drive truck, they're going to be in the wrong position for your leaf spring, because you're going to have your rear mount back here. And what I ended up with was a leaf spring that was angled, and it didn't work. So I had to kind of, well, you've watched the video, I had to modify the crap out of those things. So you don't have to do that. You could just get lift springs for a C20 in the back, or put a block if you really don't care. Now, I would never change a rear spring hanger again. A lot of why this was time consuming for me is because I'm trying to make it look original. I was trying to make it look like, to most people, if you pop your head underneath my truck, you're like, this is an original K10. I think I'm gonna fool 9 out of 10 people. And I'm not really trying to, but that's what I was going out for, I guess. So anyway, front leaf springs, you know, the rear spring hangers, I've seen those go for $150. I was gonna buy a set of front spring hangers and shackle mounts before I got my twisted donor frame that I ended up not using. Those are in the $150, $200 range, and I'm kind of keeping things on the low side on this. A four-wheel drive engine cross member for a 6772, I paid $150 for mine. That's actually what it costs. I had almost all this stuff. The only thing I had to buy was this, but a transfer case cross member, $50. I mean, I've seen them sell for 80 or 100 on the forum. Bump stops, brake lines, bumper brackets. It all adds up to $750. And there's a lot of stuff I left out here. So, I mean, you're gonna be at least $1,000, maybe $1,500 in, unless you have a lot of parts. Now, that was my thing. I had all these parts laying around, so I just did it. And the truck was all together, it was running, it was driving, it was kind of a nice little original truck. So that's why I did it. But I will say, for most people, it is definitely not going to be worth it. It's easier to find a frame. There's just too many differences. Now, you watched the video, you saw the amount of fabrication I had to do to get the for the shackle mounts, that spot there, to flatten that spot out. I had to heat, bend that. I had to trim those rear spring mounts. I mean, there's just a lot. I ended up making my own front spring mounts because it was 67, 68 style. So just a lot of work. The truck's great. I've been driving the truck for a whole week right now. I've been driving it every day. I've been driving my kids locally to their daycare and stuff in it. And it's been fine. Freeway speeds of 70 miles an hour. Doesn't even feel like it needs alignment. So I'm very confident that all my stuff is straight and there's no problems. It doesn't pull one way or the other. It's very straight, better than most old trucks. So I'm glad that it worked out, but I just wouldn't recommend it. So here's a couple things that vary from year to year and from C10 to K10. So the number one thing is the frame. Four-wheel drive frames are straight, and two-wheel drive frames have a sort of like they have a little bit of a bow to them in the back. So they look like this. This is so that the spring pockets on a coil spring truck line up with the frame. So frame is different. One thing that I didn't expect is C10s have different cab mounts than K20s and C20s. C10s have their own basic cab mount, and then 67, 68s are even different yet in the forward radiator support mount up there. That's a whole different thing. You can kind of convert mounts and stuff, which I think I put in the video, but it's just one of those things you'll run into and you'll be like, wow, this is dumb. So it would be easier to convert a C20 to a K20 or K10 even, because of the you won't have to change the height of the cab mount brackets, if that makes sense. So what is the same on trucks? Well, not a lot. 67s have their own back, their own more narrow rear leaf spring, which will help you if you're gonna, change it, because you have a little bit more room to play with it, to get everything straight. The 67, 68 frames are different. They don't have a dimple for the power steering bracket, or the dimple out for the power steering bracket. The core support mounts for 67, 68s are smaller. I think I already went over that. What can you use from a 73 and up? You can use any Dana 44. Every Dana 44 Chevy-wise is going to be the same spring spacing. The steering box, any Chevy four-wheel drive steering box, I think basically like 90s and like in 89 or 91 or whenever they stopped making the square body. I think those are all the same. The back spring hangers, so the forward leaf spring mount, I think you can use those off of a 73 and up if you're going to use them on a 69 through 72 K20. I don't know if K10s are the same, and I know Suburbans are not. So once again, there's lots of little differences. And then the springs, the forward springs, you can use those in your from a square body. They go right into a 67, 72. There's some debate on this. People say there's a difference, and there's not a difference. I've parted out both trucks within the last month, and they've had the exact same springs. So a 69 through 72 versus a 73 and up. Also, 67, 68s have weird stuff. Like the one that I had out here, it had 56-inch leaf springs in the back. That's weird. So I don't know what was going on with that, but it was factory, and I think that's just something they did. Also, the K20, the 73 K20 that I parted out, I'm sorry, it was a 76 K20. It had the exact same 52-inch rear springs as my 70 Suburban K20, and the same length as the C10 that I had. They were just wider because they're 67, 68, they're after those. So those are the only 2 years with the narrower springs, if they're two-wheel drive. If they're four-wheel drive, they're not narrower because they have that weird 56-inch spring, which is a better spring. And you guys, all these four-wheel drive guys that know more than me, will be like, oh, 56-inch springs, where it's at. Yeah, whatever, dude. I don't know. I'm just trying to make this thing look factory. So there's lots of differences that you wouldn't expect. All in all, it's fun, but not worth it. Buy a frame, and whatever you do, don't convert a 73 and up frame to work for your 72 and back truck. There's a lot of little things that are different, and I've had students that have done it, and it's to get everything to line up right and not be just a complete hack job of butchery. It's not worth it. You're better off, once again, finding a frame or a donor truck. It can be done. It can be done. I'm not sitting here saying it can't be done. I'm gonna do it, but it's just not worth it unless you have a bunch of time on your hands. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching the video. I hope it was somewhat beneficial to anybody who might be trying to, learn more about their 67 through 72 trucks. And I certainly had fun making it, kinda. And thanks again.